Alright, don't mean to cut the music like that. That actually was a really nice song. But. So let's finish up what we started yesterday, right? Yesterday was, I notice my hair is a complete mess now that I look at my camera. Oops. So yesterday we started attack subtypes. We mostly had it in place. We just needed to get the modifiers in place so that when you actually clicked on things, it did stuff. It's no biggie. Shouldn't be too difficult to make a difference between punch and kick and thrust, swing, all the different modifiers. So we need to get those in place, and then once those are in place, that should be all we have. Now, I need to figure out how to attach those. That is going to be an interesting piece of information to script in, mostly because I'm not sure if different weapons should have different modifiers for things like swing and you know, thrust and all that, but I need to take care of that. You know, I need to encode the information somewhere. They could also just be constants. I mean, that could also be the case. Let's see here. I'm actually hunting for... We'll start with the combat UI, and we'll go from there and look around a bit more, see if there's a good place to store this. It honestly might be that our best place to store it is inside the actual player attack action. We say, oh, it's not just an attack action, it's actually a attack of this type action. Also, I just realized that that is a terrible idea. I was actually storing, well, I was generating an extra attack action object that was completely unnecessary. This is actually much better. Okay, so punch kick, so we've got all the types. We need to figure out how to fill these types in. Where to store this? So if they're constants, I could just put in like a giant function with a switch statement inside of it and be done, right? That could be the easiest thing. I'm just going to poke around inside here for a moment to also see. I could also put in not just a target, but a actually, I probably want the sub-action weapon attack type. Right, because you pretty much always have to pick one of these. Well, you don't actually, do you? We'll see how it goes. We can start it with a default, at least, of... Actually, it'll default to 0 anyway, so technically none is its default. Simply by having a none enumeration, we just have a value for it to get instantiated to when it starts up. So we've got a right-hand weapon, we do all this work. So I'm just going to write a quick... Am I though? Am I really though? Am I just going to hard code all this? Yeah. I'll see if I can think of a better way to do this later. But for now, my thought is that I'm just going to write a quick function. And what we'll do is we'll just calculate all our hit bonuses in one place. And we'll see if that helps. So we'll say get hit bonus. And if one exists, so for example, if the attack type is, or not is, yeah, if the attack type is like thrust, then your hit bonus is actually, I don't know, like -3. Otherwise, we're just going to return 0 most of the time. I actually don't. For now, actually, we're going to do this the easy way. We'll just switch inside of this whole thing. That is not how a switch statement works. Dear Lord. Case. So swing we know is pretty standard. Return -3 for thrust. We'll also make kicks the harder to land. Actually, maybe we'll say a kick is easier to land, but deals less damage. And then after the switch statement, we'll just say, return 0. Don't care. It's never assigned to. I know it's not assigned to. It should be, though. Because when you choose a subtype, okay, I just realized we also have an issue in that we don't really have a way to we don't have a way to easily encode back from subtype into whatever the weapon attack type of the weapon is. Interesting. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I'm just going to copy and paste some of our existing stuff. Where did attack types come from? That, or can I store the information somewhere else would be the other piece of information I might be able to handle. Sorry. Still getting over what's left of the cold, and it's just kind of lingering enough to cause me to just cough every once in a while. So my best case here is that I should, I guess, re-grab the weapon and the weapon types and all that. I really wish I could actually encode the information, though, in the button. Oh, I know what to do. This is going to seem silly, because it's a practically trivial script. In fact, I feel silly just for making it. I'm curious if there's some way to encode the information like a different way, but I also don't feel like that would be the the Unity way of doing this. So we're just going to make a attack subtype storage. Right, we're making this incredibly specific, we're naming it specifically, and it's going to be literally nothing except a weapon attack type. Ta-da! Like, we seriously don't even need this. We can just a little like 5-line class. Yes, it's completely overkill, but I can't really think of a better way to do this at the moment. At least not so simply. Whoops, wrong object. Sorry, I meant to grab the combat UI, of which are action choices. Each of you gets a, not UI, each of you gets an attack subtype storage. That's it. That is all. And then apply my changes just to make sure. Yep. Okay. So now that those are there, now this gets really stupidly simple, because now when we set text, we also say on the button transform, we get a component called attack subtype storage, and then we say the stored attack type is the flag, which we need to swap back to the enum. That's it. Simple enough. So when we pass down the subtype, now it's just a simple matter of who sent it to us. So we need to go in and say we get the button transform. From the button transform, actually I'm just going to skip steps here. Not the greatest thing I've ever done, but not the worst either. Attack subtype storage dot stored attack type. The attack action dot. Okay, maybe that is a little bit too long. Let's take this chunk. And do that. Just so that we don't lose our sanity if we start looking at this code later and wondering what the heck we were up to. Also, I'm a little wary of setting my information this way. I think what I want to do here, instead of just setting the information straight up, is actually, since this is just a class with nothing else attached to it, yeah, I'm going to just slap some stuff into the constructor here and remove the public status of these. Because honestly, since we're doing this in an actually object-oriented fashion, we should actually probably code this in good object-oriented style. Let's see here. Player action. Yes, I know it does not contain a constructor that has 0 arguments. That is because no, come on, character. There we go. So then we say it's equal to the target. There we go. This is correct object-oriented manner of handling things, and so I'm always happier to swap things over into that, partially because that's what I'm usually more comfortable with these days. I'm still kind of transitioning into the Unity frame of mind for all this, which means that every once in a while I get caught up on silly things that I like to do, or old habits of mine that I still kind of make use of, that are object-oriented, that Unity is not a huge fan of. There we go. Okay. Just cleaning up error warnings and things in the log that Unity keeps popping up. Okay, so has that fixed everything? Not quite. We're close though. The last step here is that this combat action, now that we have the attack type, we have to make sure that the hit bonus and the damage bonus, really, because that's all this changes so far. Eventually it'll probably change more. For now, I don't really care to have it change more. I'm just trying to add more flavor. So we'll say, so thrust, I know I wanted it to do a lot more damage. So the -3 would probably come with like a +5 in damage, or something like that. And these are numbers that I'll have to tweak at some point. And then we've also got, I know I said kick, I wanted to have do less damage. So we'll have to make sure that we're doing a positive amount of damage. Let's see here. So here's our hit roll. And what we say is we're going to grab our hit roll, and then we're going to say get our hit bonus and attach that. And then we have trying to think of like, ooh, I have an idea. If the hit roll something that always bothered the hell out of me in games is when it told you it hit, but armor deflected it. Maybe I'll have armor actually do it. For now I'll toss this in. It always bothered me when they told me that. Glanced. My brain just kind of went, okay, what does that mean? That hit. Okay, great, but why didn't I deal any damage? Okay, so if... Actually, you know what? No, I can do this better. So I like misses being misses, regardless of what's going on here. I wanted glance to mean something else, and actually this might be where we can use it. If we do our, let's see here, plus our get damage bonus. So if the damage, so yeah, if damage is less than or equal to 0. Actually, let's not even do a less than or equal to. We'll just say mathf, thank you, Unity. Take the larger of these two numbers, that or 0. If this is, I'll leave the less than or equal to 0 for... It's a good sanity check. I know this can technically never happen, but less than or equal is still just a good safety net. Yes, it can never happen. No, I don't really care. Less than or equal kind of tells me what my intention is with this. If I say is equal to 0, I might think I meant something else later on down the line. I might not always catch the fact that this max is here. So unless I want to leave myself a comment, less than or equal to is fine. So this is where I'm actually going to do the color equals hash FFO glanced, because eventually armor is going to remove from the amount of damage you take. And so what I'd like to do is have each time you take a hit and the armor drops it to 0 or less, to have the shot glance, I think would be an awesome effect. And so I'm going to start that here. I'm actually just going to shift some of this code into this if statement here. There we go. Cool. So that means that now if you hit and you use an action such as a kick, and the kick wouldn't deal any damage, we tell you it glanced, so that you know that you've hit, you should have dealt damage, but for one reason or another, you didn't deal enough damage to get through. So people are hitting. Holy heck. Okay, thrust might be a little too strong right now. I might need to figure out a better modifier for it. Aha, okay, there it was. Now note it was in the same line. I'm not a huge fan of that. Also, I kind of want to slow down that last section. I should have noticed the slash n at the beginning of this. Should have known. So the other thing here is it says attacks. I don't think I want the word I don't think I want the word attacks anymore. Now that I have the subtype, I want you to remember what you did when you said, oh, I want you to ooh. That's not good. Just noticed a bug here. If this right here actually needs to be a part of the advanced character choice. There we go. Zonoth asking, do I use the C4 engine anymore? Not at the moment, no. The C4 engine is, for the most part, not being developed anymore. And because it's not being developed, a lot of the features I was looking forwards to having just never ended up making its way in. And so because they never made their way in, I just never... It's kind of this incomplete engine for me. It's missing a lot of things that I find to be very important. And because it's missing those things, I now am just kind of not terribly attached to the idea of using it, especially since C++ is such a difficult language in general to develop games in comparison to something like Unity and C#, where the number of people using the engine is a lot higher for C# and Unity. The language itself is a little more modern, a little more taken care of. You don't have to fight with memory, just the memory manager, which is less of a battle, in my opinion. So there's kind of a bunch of reasons why I kind of like the use of Unity, personally. Okay, so this is almost complete. There's one more thing I want to do, and then we're probably going to move on to items. I liked items. I like being able to like chug a potion in combat or throw a potion in combat. So that's kind of something I want to start in on today if I can. I also had some other tweaks I wanted to make. Also, maybe you guys can help me out with this. I have been looking for the term for the outline of a person that you see in it's the outline of the person that you see in the inventory screen. I've tried hunting down a few keywords. I've looked up inventory silhouette, I've looked up inventory mannequin, I've looked up like character outlines. I can't find that silhouette, that kind of shaded silhouette of a person that stands behind all the active inventory slots. Like, I can't come up with a name for it. I don't know why, but it's just not coming to me. I don't know. Yeah, Zonoth, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like the Villager game. The problem is it was way too much for me on my own to take care of. It was supposed to be a project that I and someone else dug into, and that someone else unfortunately had life come up. The whole having to pay bills and get a job and that kind of thing took priority, obviously. And so I wasn't really happy with the idea of taking on that entire project on my own. There's just too many moving bits and pieces and systems that it required. And honestly, the design was kind of half-baked. I had some decent ideas of what I wanted it to do, but I didn't have anything terribly well designed. I didn't have anything down on paper, for lack of better words. And it would have taken a long time to actually nail down what made that fun, and then from there figure out, okay, if this is what makes it fun, how do I design more mechanics around that fun factor? So that was kind of a difficult thing to do. I especially wasn't a huge fan of the choice I made for voxel stuff for that game, although that was kind of a technical hurdle I didn't want to fight with at the time. I could go on for a long time about what I think I did right or wrong, but it honestly was just a project that for me was too big on my own, which is fine. That happens. You get a little excited about an idea, and as it turns out, that idea is a bit much. Like, that happens to a lot of programmers, either through feature creep or through the initial setup. It happens to be a lot. Let's see here. Get attack description. Get attack string. Okay. So this is the kind of scary one here. Right, this is the case that shouldn't happen. Or at least if it does happen, in fact, I'm going to leave that as the default. Because honestly, that shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be an attack that doesn't have some kind of modifier to it. Let's see here. The other thing is that I want, let's put weapon name here. And when you go to do the attack with our right hand weapon here, yeah, for now I'm going to say we have the right hand weapon dot, is there a weapon name here? There's an item name. I think I can use that. I need to come up with some kind of like Mad Lib for this, where it says you swing at something with your fist, or you punch at something with your whatever. I guess there can be a case of no weapon name, right? There we go, swings weapon name. And then we should be able to just also ignore it for certain cases, like return, this would be throw. Case, what else do we got here? Punch, simple. Punches. Kick, kicks. Simple things for most of these. Yeah, and this should replace this attacks word. So it's going to be a little weird. I'm going to do a lot of concatenation in here. It's either that or I encode that into the strings here, but I'm not a huge fan of that. Eventually I think I'm going to want to go into use of a string builder, because this is going to start burning up a ton of memory allocations doing all the string concatenations. Get attack string for the right hand weapon, actually just the weapon name. There we go. Cool, let's see if that looks any better. Swings blank at. I just realized we have to do a little bit extra here, because you're going to say I swing my sword at, I thrust my sword at, versus I punch it or I kick it. There's a little extra wording here. That's why I had flails at in the first place. Like, there are better ways to do this, and I just need to make sure I'm handling it. So we have, let's say, thrust, punch, kick, punch. Rogue punches bat. Cool. I like this verboseness here. Whoop. Thrusts the rusty dagger at the bat. The mage punches the bat. Like, this is what I like about this kind of combat, right? We're now getting to the point where it's not just like, it's not your Final Fantasy, I attack it, and then the person does some, you know, similar animation we've seen a million times before. This is a little more simple when it comes to imagining what's going on. Your mage kicking at a bat, your cleric punching, or the warrior swinging or thrusting a sword, right? It becomes a lot more visual, even though we don't have those visuals on the screen, so to speak. We can still kind of see it coming. Ta-da! And just like that, we have finished combat. We've also noticed that this bug is still here, even after restarting my computer, so that's something I'll have to probably look into eventually. Not what I'm looking forwards to, but whatever. Alright, so I don't even know if I want these combat rolls in my debug log anymore. They're kind of actually overkill. Especially since combat is actually telling us a ton. It tells us a lot of information based on whether it says hit, miss, dodge, glance, like all these different things. Alright, so I'm actually going to go so far as to commit what I got. Holy heck, a lot of stuff changed here. You can see we clearly added a fair amount of information to this. I'm still not going to push the night skybox or the sleep icon quite yet, because those aren't in use, although I should put those into use. Alright. Eventually I want to make also probably those little changes to the attacks a little more dynamic. Right now they're hard-coded numbers. Eventually I might want to make them like, it's half your strength that gets, you know, added into a thrust attack. That kind of thing, so that the numbers aren't just static. As your character's stats go up, you actually get better at becomes more unreliable but more powerful, so that it becomes a real trade-off, as it should be from the beginning, honestly. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to, you know, ask away. Dan Brenny, thank you so much for hosting me. It's always a pleasure. For those who don't know, Dan Brenny is, I've watched his stream a few times. He does some, he does 2D platformer stuff in Unity. Specifically, he does a lot of roguelike stuff. He does some beautiful work. You guys should check him out at some point. Always, always a pleasure to have his company in chat, and also I'll sit and watch his stream sometime as well. I sit there and lurk quietly more than anything else. Usually I'm either busy with my own game or busy prepping for my own stream. Otherwise I'd probably chat a little more. Hey Dan. Alright. Let's see. So we've got basic attack subtypes are in. Great. I'm going to go so far as to... It's taking up a giant chunk of my whiteboard, so I'm just going to nuke that. And by nuke, I have an eraser. Items. I really wanted to start in on items today. Alright. Thanks, Merkasek. Thanks for following. For those of you who are... I guess I'll kind of take a moment between features here to say, if you're here for the first time, or if you're here because of Dan Brandy's channel, I would encourage you guys, follow myself or Dan. If you're really interested in watching game design in Unity, I'm taking on a 3D aspect. Dan does a lot of good 2D stuff. So feel free, follow either of us, maybe both of us. What a novel idea. I'm working on a first-person dungeon crawl right now, and if you want to see how these things kind of come together in something like Unity, how a game kind of falls into all of its various pieces, I'm here every morning, at least Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 9. I do an hour on the weekdays, and then my weekends are like a 3-hour stream usually when I can manage it. So feel free, hit that follow button below, and you'll get emails when I go online, and you can kind of see the process as, all this stuff starts to come together. All our tiny little terrain, which I need to get back to expanding that at some point. It's just difficult doing it a tile at a time, and then seeing bugs like this. I really want to know what's causing that. I've tried turning things off, and it's just... I'm getting to such a point where I have no idea what more I can turn off. I'm actually kind of curious if it's the material itself. Whoops, I did not mean to walk into that fight. So it might be part material, because you'll note the next tile is doing this, but this tile is not. Interesting. I need to figure out what's going on here. Does it... What if I remove it from the shadow map? Some quick bug testing stuff. Nope, if I remove it from the shadow map, it just straight up stops altogether. Okay. What if I turn all of this off? Nada. Nothing. If I unrotate it? Nope. I don't know, guys. I got nothing. Interesting. Combined mesh. I've never actually seen that. I wonder what it's doing. Are any of these other ones marked as... Yep, they're all marked as combined mesh. That's new. That is really new. I've never actually seen that. Anyone know what Unity's doing right now? Oh, okay. People in Unity are saying that's the static batching kicking in. What's ending up happening is Unity, because I've marked all the objects as static and that they're not going to move, what it does is it combines all the static objects into one vertex batch, essentially, because it knows they're not going to move, they're not going anywhere. And so it's easy to dump all the vertex information into one buffer so that it can send it down to the graphics card at once. It's really expensive to send information between your CPU and your GPU. And so if you send a bunch of little objects, it can be really expensive versus if you spend your time to kind of put them all together into one batch and send it all at once, it's a lot cheaper. You'll note that it says saved by batching 462. I'm assuming that's draw calls, because I don't know what else that could be. But yeah, it just means that I'm saving a lot of draw calls by having that be its own thing. I'm simply sad that this is a bug that I'll have to probably iron out at some point. It actually makes me wonder if I could strip down the game and send off a bug report to Unity and ask them, hey guys, what's up? How do I fix this? I do have a pro account, so I probably could submit this as a decent bug if I wanted to. Alright, so items. Items in combat specifically. Items out of combat will also be a thing that I need to handle at some point. But items in combat are the thing that adds even more spice to it. Let's do out of combat first, because out of combat's a little easier to handle, and then we'll do in combat. Just so that we go one step at a time. I'm probably not even going to finish the out of combat today, but we can kind of take steps in the right direction to handle that. Zonoth is asking what 3D modeling program I use. Personally, I use Blender. The thing to keep in mind is that all of the 3D models in this scene right now are not mine. These are all purchased from BitGem. I don't actually spend the time to do 3D modeling, because to do anything near this quality would take me way too long. I could do it, but I would spend hours upon hours upon hours working on it. So instead of doing that, I spend my time programming and making the game, and I just buy assets that fit a certain scheme. They have a certain style I have in mind, and I'm keeping to that style so far. You'll notice everything here is lots of hand-painted textures, lots of details that are specific, and what I'm using is a lot of tiling to make things seem distinct and not too repeating and tiled. And especially, you'll notice that even my monsters kind of fit that theme. If I clock out to my scene view, you'll note that they kind of have the same, let's see if I can pause that, there we go. You'll notice they kind of have the same hand-painted look. They almost look like they match this scene, right? They don't feel too out of place. Their coloring maybe could use a little more modification to fit better, but they don't look out of place. And that's really the big thing I look for when I'm purchasing assets. Simply because I just don't have the time between, you know, my 9-to-5 job, this, and then, you know, playing Rocket League right now, or Rock Band. I just don't have the time to 3D model. I love this stuff. I don't feel the need to spend another, you know, 200 to 500 hours to master 3D modeling right now. Not at this moment, at least. Eventually, you guys might see me come on the creative channel when I'm actually practicing my 3D modeling, but for now, I just want to make a game. So, first things first, we need an actual item that isn't a weapon item. We need a, I'm going to call this a potion item. Or maybe maybe not a potion item, like an edible item. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go so far as to say, and I'm actually, let's do a little organization here. My item stuff, my item scripts, I'm going to toss in the, and actually, just to keep this, there should be items multiple, because you'll notice prefab has items, scripts should have items. I don't want different folders to have like slightly similar but still different names. That'd be too much. My head would explode. So let's see, inventory item, sure, you go in there. Inventory item UI, yes, you can also go in there. Now the inventory, yeah, the inventory slot UI, like everything that has to do with, whoops, did I just put the wrong thing in here? No, I didn't, okay. Pretty much anything or everything that has to do with an item of some kind. I want to end up in here. So the weapon items definitely need to find their way in. Animator, attack, subtype storage, nope. Just making sure I don't miss anything. Okay, cool. So this is all my item code, right? All, I don't know, I'd probably say that's a couple hundred lines maybe. If I'm unlucky, that's a couple hundred lines. If I'm lucky, there's a lot less here. And I'm going to create a new one. This is going to be our consumable. That's the word I was looking for, our consumable item. And I want to make sure, I called you weapon item. You should be consumable item. Great. And much like our weapon item, we're going to do a lot of similar stuff here. There we go. Get rid of that. I can actually rip all of this out as well. Hobblygobbly's asking, have I played Might and Magic 10 Legacy? No. Although, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that in my Google chat. Or not my Google chat, just in a like separate tab in Google. And I'll check it out when I... Oh, okay, no, it actually looks very similar. Sorry, I did happen to click through and look at it. It looks very similar to kind of what I'm going for here. I'll show you guys what Hobblygobbly's pointing out. So in terms of like, here's what somebody's inventory looks like. Now, I'm not a fan of games who's like, here, you have access to your entire inventory all the time. I'm a bigger fan of hiding things. So you can only have X items in your hand and everything else is in your backpack, and it's a pain in the ass to access things in your backpack during a fight. But at the same time, like, this is neat. This actually looks a fair bit like what I want to do in some ways. Interesting. Now, granted, you'll notice that they just have health and mana, right? That's the most standard thing you can ever do in a game. If it's an RPG, you have health and mana. And you'll note, like, even the fighter's got a full mana bar. I'm hoping that's because he just has no spells. And his mana bar is just kind of like lazy UI coding, right? I'm going to have 3 bars, right? I've got my health, my energy, and my mana. And keep in mind, a rogue or a warrior, except for really extenuating circumstances, probably won't ever see their mana bar. It just won't exist. So, but I do like some of this layout. This is pretty good layout for a 3D setup. I kind of like having my characters on the sides, but at the same time, if you only have 4 characters, this actually might not be a bad way to go. The portraits are a little small. It kind of takes some of the emphasis off the characters and puts more emphasis on what's going on in front of you. Still, I like the look of it. I like what it does. And it's definitely, oh god, that's what a low graphics quality looks like apparently. I also don't like this being up in the corner. I kind of want that text bar somewhere more centered, more easily readable. Unless they're doing a lot of kind of putting the information on the screen for you so you don't have to read it. If every time you hit an enemy it did a slash mark and a -5, that might be fine, as opposed to reading, you know, swings, deals 5. Oh, it looks like you can have 6 characters in your party. Note there are people here in the back who magically cannot take, you know, take part in combat. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll have to look into that some more. It's definitely been a while since I'm actually tempted to go through and play the old Wizardry games, and also to play games like this and Legend of Grimrock, as much as I don't like the real-time combat in it. If only to get a feel for what those games bring to the table, and then to make choices about how my game should be different, or what I do and don't like about them, so that I can insert those parts into the game, and not feel like I'm completely ripping off, you know, someone else if I do something too similarly, which I've done before. It's very easy to have an idea that someone else has had a long time ago, and what you end up doing is you end up writing your game to do something incredibly similar, and then everyone says, oh, you just took this from this. And sometimes that can be a good thing, but sometimes that's not so great either. For example, if you look at Shadow of Mordor's combat versus the Batman Arkham series combat, you'll note that the two are incredibly similar. Shadow of Mordor is just incredibly brutal in comparison. And people say, yeah, you know, Shadow of Mordor reappropriated Batman's combat system. Okay, fair enough. The two are very similar. They may not have been designed so similarly, but that's how they ended up feeling when you play the game. And that's actually a positive for Shadow of Mordor, right? For a new IP, it's actually kind of a big thing to be able to copy someone else and do it so well that people say nice things like that about your game. Anyway, so consumable items. We've got our inventory item that already has the item name, item icon, and the slot that it should be used in. I just realized I should have a slot usability of none, right? And if I don't, I need to add it. And is that going to hurt anything? What? Oh. Thank you, my sweet. One sec, guys. Business. Alright, cool. Business taken care of. What? Oh. So, let's see here. How do we take care of a consumable item? A couple pieces of the puzzle need to come together here. One, we need to know what its effect is. And two, we need to know the strength of the effect. In some cases, the strength won't matter. You know, if you poison somebody, you poison somebody, and it doesn't really matter the strength of the poison. Ooh, or should it? It might be neat to have a strong poison potion versus a weak one. That actually might not be too bad. Okay, so we need some kind of effect. So for now, I'm just going to go with enumeration, because that seems like the easiest way to do a pick one of X. And we'll call this the consumable effects, enum, because also if you hear crunching, it's the dog. Don't worry. Not my bones grinding for any reason. So for the most hilarious consumable effect, there is none. If only because it'd be hilarious to have somebody like drink a potion and kind of go, okay, what'd that potion do? I don't know. Nothing changed. There's no buff. My health didn't come back.
Water. Make it water.
It's just like, yeah, it'd be a water potion, right? A placebo almost. You know, maybe your poison wears off the next turn naturally, and the player goes, oh, it must be a poison, you know, counter. No, it's just water. You just drank water. It doesn't do anything. I don't know. I say these things, and I'm not sure if I should actually put them in, because that could be incredibly, like, frustrating. People all over the internet will be wondering what the hell I'm doing.
No, just make it readily available.
Let's see. So we have
restore water everywhere.
Nah.
In like beginner player areas.
So restore energy, restore health. Eventually we'll add restore mana, because that's kind of an obvious next step. So we have our consumable effect. A lot of people asking about the settlement today. Vasily is asking, did I finish the C++ game? No. No, I did not. That was quite the game. Literally a case of I bit off more than I can chew. And so, yeah, that kind of got set on the sidelines. Okay, so we have a consumable item. It has an effect and effect strength. Pretty simple. I'm almost tempted to make these flags. Once again, I love how I just want to make flags for everything. I just want to like turn on all flags for everything. Do I want to keep fighting with more flags? That's the question here. Do I really want to do that? And then on top of that, how would I have multiple strengths to match the flags? That would be the other thing. For example, if I wanted a heal all potion, what would I do? I mean, I could add another enum for restore health and energy. I then would also want one for like restore health and mana, restore energy and mana. Like this could get out of control. Am I really going to add more flags? Really?
Yes, you are.
What about vector math? I'm good at vector math. Yeah, I don't know what you're... Now I'm... Okay, whether or not I finish the C++ game is one thing. And you can see all the videos of how far I got on my YouTube channel if you're interested. What about vector math? I've always... As far as vector math goes, I'm pretty decent at it. I like to think I'm pretty decent at it. I know I have moments where my brain turns off and I forget vector math. But, I'm doing it, guys. I'm really sorry. But I'm doing it. But yeah, no, my vector math's decent. There we go. Ugh. Here we go again, guys. Enum, no. I want the, what is it? The enum flag attribute, I believe. Okay, never mind. Type of consumable effect. There we go. And this is going to turn into an int array. I think that's how I want to roll this. So essentially, for each flag in the consumable item, I should have an integer that matches. And what I want to do here, this is where I need to make sure this happens. Scriptable object unity, thank you. I'm going to pull up some documentation for a moment. There should be, and I hope there is, an onValidate, and I'm not seeing it, which is frightening. What I want is an onValidate function. Essentially, what Unity does is it has only in the editor a function that gets called when a script is loaded or a value is changed in the inspector. This is what I want, but I want it for a scriptable object. And I want to make sure such a thing exists in Unity. Okay, you can use onValidate in scriptable objects, but Unity forgot to document it for some reason. That's fine. I don't actually care if they document it or not. As long as it works, it's an empty function, probably returns void. Great. It just bothers me when they say, oh yeah, no, it's, let's see, here's the effect strength, and the effect strength is going to be equal to, can I just set the array length? I think that's a set only, or a get only. Yeah, only assignment, oh, can I do this? No, I didn't think you could resize an array like that. There's no resize on an array. I've never tried to actually resize an array. I pretty much only use arrays when they need to be a fixed length, so this is new to me. Effect dot, let's see, here we have our game util class. with our get flag count in enum. And this will get turned into effects, not effect, because no longer is it singular. Hello, little punk. Has some invalid arguments. Yes, it does. There we go. Invalid arguments handled. If effect strength dot length is not equal to this, can't help but notice that it didn't cut when I did Control X here. Oh, it's okay, dog. All right, cool. Let's see. Is there anything else? For now, no. Let's make us a health potion. And then I've got to take off because I only have a few minutes before I have to go. So, let's see here. Hopefully now I should be able to go into my prefab items and I should say a new consumable item. We're going to start ourselves with a health potion. Name it a health potion. We have no image for it yet. It cannot be put in any slot. Its effects will be restoring health, and its effect strength will be, I don't know, 5. I don't even know what that means yet. No clue. In fact, I'm going to turn it down to 2 and make this a lesser health potion. No, we'll leave it at a standard. It'll be a standard health potion and do whatever 4 is. Whether that's 4 health, whether that's a die roll of 4. And by a die roll of 4, I mean 1d8. Because the median should be the halfway point. So it actually wouldn't be a d8. It would probably be 2d4. So, let's see here. I did have, right, I know. I had inside my Scratch folder a ton of icons. And these are not the ones I'm hunting for. Dogs bumping up against a chair. Lovely. Okay, here we go. Here's the icon pack I had in mind. Potion, potion, potion. Hey, red potion. Guess what that tends to mean. Although I don't need it in 512. Let's... how big of a size did I use it before? Did I use for it before? Words. Words, words, words. For now, we'll grab the 512 and I can... or the whatever. I'll just grab a smaller size. I can change it later. Textures, what did I use here? Windows, you're going to tell me. No, you're not. Not easily. Okay, it's a 128 by 128. So let's go to the next size up. Assets, textures, yeah. Potion red. Oh, and we need to go into our textures and mark it as sprite. Otherwise... Also, we don't need MIP maps for that. That's seriously a giant waste of our time to put MIP maps on sprites of certain sizes. Alright, cool. Item, health potion. Cool. So, I gotta take off, guys. Thank you for joining me today. It has been another productive day, another productive hour of game design. Today... being the Thursday that it is, I'll be back online tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 23 hours from now. Set your alarms, because I will be here. Especially now that I'm feeling a lot better. if you guys have any questions, want to know how I'm doing things, feel free, send me messages through Twitch chat, or if you want to post things on my YouTube channel, I'll get to those eventually, I promise. But yeah, for those of you who want to keep seeing what I'm doing, hitting the follow button lets me know, if you haven't hit it already, I should say, that, you know, you're here, you'll show up, you'll support me. You don't even have to actually show up. It just kind of is a supporty thing to do. Lets me know that you enjoy what you see. Thank you again, guys. Have a good day, and hopefully I will see most, if not all of you, tomorrow.